Hey guys, it's Mike from Shimino's Workshop. Here's our latest commission. This is actually a Katarn hilt from the game Dark Forces 2 video game. That takes you back a while. This was sent to me as just an empty hilt to be installed. Proffie 28mm base speaker, 18650 battery, recharge port, 2.1mm recharge port, custom chassis, custom switch holder assembly, which you can't see, it's hidden underneath this black switch or control box. Just using, I think I went with 1.5 or maybe 1.7 millimeter height plungers, just regular tactile switches. And we have a blade plug from Rogue Arsenal. And what else is in there? Oh, and then of course we have a Dimitri stock Neopixel PCB, so we get the 5 pixels on board. And the commission also called for a 1-inch blade, 36-inch long, which I'll put in and we'll show off the blade as well. So we'll first fire her up. So we know we get the nice shine through from the Rogue Arsenal blade plug. So that's a nice, that shines through real nice. I think this is actually like a Graflex or the Skinny Flex style blade plug, but it seemed to tie in nice. The copper, I don't know what you would call that piece right there, that cylinder piece, ties in nice to some of the other copper, maybe brass, copper looking accents. So that tied in nice. 2 buttons, so we got our main power button, and we also have auxiliary. The customer made this one a little bit easier on me. They provided all the fonts. He provided his own config file that, I just had to massage a little bit to add the proper config for the PCB pixels. So slight modification, but otherwise the config file had all the blade styles, fonts, all the presets set up. It is Proffie 1.5 with the SA22 fork, the latest version of that color change fork. I believe there are some color change styles. And the font, you got some of the popular ones from Jesse or Kyberphonic, some Madcow fonts, KSith fonts, Lord Blako, maybe it's Blako, Repulse, yeah, so some of the more popular names in the font community out there. I'll run through. So the first font we saw actually is Outcast Knight from Jesse. So double press on the power button triggers the force effect, and I put my little cheat sheet over on the side there so I can remember what fonts are what. Some font makers make the force effect an actual force effect, like a push or a choke. Others make it like a quote, so you can trigger like a quote. I believe all of these are actual force effects. And then of course you have lock up, blaster block, drag. I also, like I do on all my other installs, I modified the Proffie OS. I add the battery low voltage monitoring. This way, if the battery drops to 3 volts and the Sabers on, it'll shut it off. And then every 15 seconds, it'll play a low battery warning, which is just right on the root. It's called lowbat.wave. So if you wanted to change it, you could just access the SD card and swap it out. You could also, if you wanted a different low battery sound for each font, you could put lowbat.wave into the font directory itself, and that sound would be played if it existed. So each font or preset could have its own low battery sound, or it could just share a common one sitting at the root of the SD card. So the second one...
He's been working on that thing for weeks. What kind of lightsaber could he possibly build with the junk we have laying around?
So Staple Sword, another Jesse font. I'm excited. This font makes me excited only because I have Ezra's blaster or staple gun saber thing that he made. I have that on pre-order, so that's going to be coming soon. I believe that was Watto's Junkyard did a run of that. I've been waiting on something like that for at least a good year now. So what's cool about this, that's the actual blaster, right? Shooting, that's not a blaster block, but a blaster. I don't see this too frequently. I'm guessing, so this is a Madcow Corellian font.
Corellian.
I'm guessing the customer, renamed some files to make it work for Proffie, because I don't think Madcow put out Proffie fonts. Could be wrong. Here we got KSith the light. So this is a ray based font. Oops.
Light.
So those are your accent swings, right? If you just do soft or a little bit aggressive, you got your smooth swing, and then you can trigger an accent swing. The next is Peace by Jesse. Blind Cowboy, that was recently put out. I was kind of begging Jesse for this one for a while. This is a Kanan.
I am Kanan Jarrus, Jedi Knight.
Called Blind Cowboy.
I can sense your presence.
I have my Blind Knight saber from Solo's Hold that I installed with the Goth Master chassis, metal, removable, really awesome saber, complete package, and I've really just been waiting for a good Kanan font. Not that there haven't been good Kanan fonts, but looking for something more modern, smooth swing, things like that. So Jesse was able to deliver there.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is the Return, so another Jesse font. So this is a Luke font from Return of the Jedi. This is the Balance from KSith, so this is a Ray font. The next one is Energy Saber, so this is Jesse as well. I like that orange, or not orange, yellow. Got that nice yellow. The next one is Lord Blako.
Heart of the Guardian.
Heart of the Guardian. There's that orange one. It's got like that static hum. The next one is Violence from Jesse.
Mantle of the Forest.
I'll move through these a little quicker now, but this is Mantle of the Forest. This is also Lord Blako. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I know I've purchased fonts on Saber font before, but I've never actually heard anybody say, so I'm just assuming it's Lord Blako. This is another Madcow font called Rogue. I like that deep hum, almost staticky too. This is a fun one. This is from Repulse, for those that remember Link. Brandon, he now has Repulse custom fonts. This is his Predator one. It's called Apex. Unstable Light from Jesse. And then we have The Dark from KSith.
Darkness.
And then we have the LS6, which is a KSith Return of the Jedi font. I think that one's been modified, or you know, an extra hum sound was added. And then you got battery. So this is just built into Proffie. It does, it's like a style charging. I think green is fully charged, blue is diminishing, you know, it's about, you know, half, maybe 3, you know, 3.5 and above, 3.75 and above, and then turns orangey or red to indicate low voltage. So you can, you know, you can switch to that to just get a quick visual indicator of your battery level. You can also...
Let's see what this Saber can do.
You can hold down auxiliary.
3.96 volts.
3.96 volts, so you can get a voltage readout just by holding down auxiliary. Okay, so let's open her up. So accessing the Proffieboard or the SD card, all you have to do is unscrew the screw here. That just kind of locks the pommel cap in place. This bar attaches to the control box, so you can loosen that, and take the bar off. This screw goes all the way down into the hilt. I wouldn't mess with this. This was a little bit of a pain in the neck to get those buttons seated into the switch assembly and have the wires run down through the hilt and to the chassis. So probably best not to mess with that. But yeah, you just undo that screw. You can take this off. The vented cap is actually been attached with a C-clip. You probably can't see in there. It's a little dark. No, probably not. But that's held on by a C-clip. I'm not entirely sure why they made it removable. The kit doesn't come with a non-vented cap, unless you know, there's a larger ring here. Maybe an idea is to put the recharge port there. But still, I'm not entirely sure why this had to be removable. Maybe it made machining easier. All right, well, with that said, then the chassis just slides out. It's not fully removable, and there's nothing holding it in place, so it moves, slides in and out. It's attached, you know, wires are attached. They run a few wires up to the control box, a few wires up to the Pixel PCB, so just, you know, tread carefully, don't yank on it. I like to think that I do pretty good soldering, so it's probably strong solder joints, but you know, no reason to no reason to see how well. So access to the recharge port right here, access to the Proffieboard, the USB, the SD card underneath. It's not glued in. It's just a nice snug press fit. So I wouldn't use your finger to lift this up because these have been known to remove themselves. So don't, try not to do this. Maybe get a, I don't know, toothpick or, something plastic that you could, or put the kill key in first and then put something under it, lift it up. That'll give you better access to the port or the SD card. But you shouldn't need to. Instead, you could get an angled adapter if you need a link, or I'll drop a link in the description, because a straight adapter won't work without lifting it up. But they make right angled adapters on Amazon that are actually pretty low profile too. So I've been using those. But that's your access. You have your 28 mil speaker. It's not glued in. It's not a press fit. It will come off. So I'll speak to the customer to see if they want me to glue that in place. I am one of those people that use glue when it's appropriate. It didn't feel appropriate here. I lock tight my recharge ports to keep them from having to be over tightened. But occasion I'll use E6000 or some super glue if I feel the board needs to be held down. And the same thing with the speaker. But I wasn't really feeling glue on this one. I didn't feel the need. And what else? Just the back of the recharge port. Yeah. So then, when you're done, you slide it in. And if we can, I don't know if we're going to be able to tell, but this ring fits perfectly around the speaker. So instead of pushing it in with your finger and trying to get it to, all I do is I cap the speaker and push in and then start turning. The speaker does not fall into the pommel, which is what I liked about this design. The speaker's within the hilt, and I think that helps with resonance. Because if the speaker was all the way down here, then there's really nothing resonating, right? The speaker being up here, the sound is obviously going in this direction, and it has this, inch and a half to resonate a little bit. Makes it sound nice. And then you can just put that back on, and you're good to go. Different size for the blade retention. Forget if the kit came with keys, with Allen, wrenches. And there's your blade plug. That just drops right out. Your blade depth, about that far on my finger. So maybe 2 inches. So you got pretty good blade depth here. It's a snug fit on the blade. The 1-inch blade, 36 inches long. The blade retention, I did have to sand that down a little bit. When the blade retention was drilled and tapped, they didn't clean up in here. So on the inside of the hole, with some metal sticking out, probably from the drill going through and pushing the metal, and that was scraping up the blade and not causing it to go in very well. So I just took my Dremel, sanded it down a little bit. We could probably just touch that up with some paint. You can see the sanding expose some of the aluminum. I'll speak to the customer, see if he wants me to touch that up with a little bit of paint. Otherwise, you won't ever really see it, right? Because you'll probably have this in or your blade in. But that had to be done. I had to clean that up because it was, like I said, it was scraping the blade and causing it not to sit right. But now that it's sanded, now at least it's smooth. the blade goes in. I didn't have to sand, you know, I sand my blades to help with diffusion, but I didn't have to actually sand the blade down to make it fit. Sometimes you have to do that. But, you know, you got good blade depth. You can just tighten the blade retention just a little bit. Don't go crazy. It's not coming out. See if I can get a drag in there. Yeah, there you go. 130 pixels in the blade. I guess technically 260 total, but there's 2 strips. So 130 pixels per strip. The way I build my blades, I wrap cellophane around the strips. I have another layer of, instead of foam, I use it's sort of a cloth. I'll put links to this stuff too in the description in case people are interested. It's actually like landscaping material that you'd maybe wrap around a bush or a flower or a plant to protect it. I find that's actually pretty good material for diffusion. And then lastly, there's a diffusing material that you can get from custom saber shops. So that's the final, which is more of a tube. So 3 layers of diffusion plus sanding the blade gives it really that nice diffused effect.
He's been working on that thing for weeks. What kind of lightsaber could he possibly build with the junk we have laying around?
I also, I put a blade ID resistor in this blade, 10K, 10,000 or 10K resistor. And what that's good for is you can actually, and CF10, Proffie have a feature or a function where it can detect that resistor. And this way you can then program it so that it knows what blade is in and can adjust the number of pixels essentially. So this blade, right, 36 inches long, 130 pixels with a 10K resistor. I could go into my config, I can put that number in, or in this version of Proffie OS, I can figure out what that resistance value is, then take that value, configure it on my blade config, and then Proffie will detect that and know which blade definition to use. So that's helpful if I have many blades. I have my 12-inch demo blade that I use. Maybe you have a 36, a 30, a 24-inch blade that you use for different purposes. If you put different resistors, right? So maybe 10K on the 36-inch, maybe 8K on the 30-inch, and so on. I can swap my blades in and out without having to reprogram the board, right? I'll set it up once, and then you should be good. I'm told that in the new version of Proffie OS 3.3, that he's enhanced the blade ID detection feature so it's a little more accurate when reading the resistor value, the resistance. Because right now, like 10K resistor, I'm not getting actual 10K resistance. It's like 100, which makes little sense, but it is consistent at least. But in 3.3, I'm told the resistance is a little bit better reflecting of the resistor used, and also adds features so that you don't, you know, you can run a command, it'll tell you the resistance as opposed to having to go to serial monitor and look for it on boot up. Sorry if I'm getting a little too technical, but this is what I've been working on for the last couple of days, so it's in my head. This shield piece comes off, just these 2 screws is just holding this piece on, so you could take that off. And this upper section also comes off here, which I wouldn't suggest doing. I forget, maybe the screw is holding it on. But this piece does come off, and you'd be able to access the PCB holder. It's the blade depth is too far down, so you probably won't be able to see much. You can see how snug it is, right? You get that pop. Yeah, you can see down in there. So if you were to take this piece off by unscrewing these two, then you would be able to take the emitter end off. Just unscrew it. You know, go careful. But it's actually kind of like a press fit, the PCB holder. I did have to design my own because the one that comes with the kit, we can put that here. I'll show you. Yeah, I'm not going to put it there. The one that comes with the kit, I guess the kit was really intended for a tri-cree install. So they give you this nice heat sink. This hilt is I know Korbanth sold this, but I believe the designer, the manufacturer, is DF2. Or no, I shouldn't say DF2. That's Dark Forces 2. Is it LDM? I'll put that in the description as well. But these are still available. I think you could actually buy these hilts still from the website. They're about $200, and there's different install options. You can have it installed or not. But my point is, this is what comes with the kit. So it's intended you put a tri-cree, or you know, you put a LED in there with your heat sink, and you can lock that in place with that. You can put your LED lens on the top, and then this would sit in between. This would go into the top of the hilt. The emitter goes next, and you can see it has this groove. So I had to replicate this to hold the Shtok PCB, which is what you see in there. And you know, so I used a filament that's transparent, translucent. I need to go back to school for that. But it, you know, and so instead of being metal, it's plastic. So it sits about, maybe it sits here. Yeah, I think that's where it is. I think it sits down here, and then the emitter goes on top and locks it in. No, maybe it's up here. Yeah, it's probably like that. Okay. What else? Any other goodie bag? No, nothing else. So you know, I had ordered mine from Korbanth probably a year ago. It's still sitting in the box. I never got around to it. So I was happy that I was asked to install this, because now we have the chassis, we have the switch solution, I have the PCB holder, I have everything I need now to do my own. So hopefully I'll do that. You know, I have too many personal projects that are just sitting in boxes. I need to start actually getting them done. Let's see if we can. Huh. I had it sitting up there. Oh, you know why? I wonder if that's it. I wonder if the blade plug is adding the necessary weight. Let's see. It might be. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. You guys have questions, thoughts, hit me up with some comments. And hopefully I'll have another commission to share soon. Bye, guys.